And now I'm going to continue. We're going to see what if we start looking at other people. And I decided to help me make this visualization show me even more information. I was interested to know which of these observations were seen on the daytime during a weekday, like during business hours, which ones were seen in the evening on a weekday, and which ones were seen on the weekend. So I wrote some code to help me color code the markers on the map so that we'd be able to visualize this information. And to do that, I had to write a little Python code to analyze the timestamp and then pick a color based on that. And basically that just used some logic based on the day of the week, whether it was weekend or weekday, and then based on the hour of the day, according to tell me whether or not it was during daytime or during the evening. So then I went looking for another person in this data set, and so I decided to look at another city official, the fire chief. I was able to figure out through public records what the license plate of the fire chief's official city-issued car was, and use that to plot on a map the locations where all the locations where the fire chief's car was seen. Okay, so here we can see different locations. As a reminder, the blue represents weekday business hours, the red is evenings on the weekdays, and then the green is on the weekends. So let's zoom in a little bit and see what we can see from this data, see what interesting things we can see. Here you can see a whole bunch of observations down here, and a few more up in North Oakland in the evenings. So now I want you to take a moment, pause your video, and think about what inferences you can draw. What can you infer about the fire chief based on this data? All right, I'm curious what you came up with. First, let's figure out what we can infer from this cluster of observations down here where her car was seen on weekdays during business hours. What do you think that represents? I think the most natural interpretation is probably that she works somewhere around here. She's probably parking her car right around where she works. And sure enough, the offices of the fire department are in this vicinity, so after looking it up, I think that looks like a pretty good inference. What about these points up here, the weekday evening locations? There's one that was 6 p.m., the other was 11 p.m. What can we infer about those? That's a little harder. There's many possibilities what that might represent, what she was doing when her car was seen up here. I don't know. It's hard to know. I mean, we just don't have enough information in the data set. Was she doing errands, dropping off at the dry cleaners? Was she going to visit a friend for dinner? Was she off to the site of some fire? I don't know. Who knows? It could be any number of things. And then last, let's look at this observation that was seen on the weekend. Here's an observation that was seen on I think it was a Saturday night at 11:52 p.m. What inference can you draw from that? Well, where would you expect your car to be parked late at night on a weekend? I think the most likely location is probably outside your home. And if we zoom in a little bit here, you can see just how precise this GPS is. We can just keep zooming in until we see the neighborhood where presumably she lives, the block where she lives, almost down to the house. Not quite. But this starts to give you a pretty good idea that I bet you she lives somewhere around here. And if you know something about Oakland, this is a pretty fancy, nice residential neighborhood, a nice place to live. And I was actually curious, so I went so far as to take this GPS location and enter it into Google Maps, and I could use Street View, and I could take a look and get a picture of these particular houses from the street. And I don't know which one she lives at, but it's probably a good guess that maybe it's one of these. So, wow, this made me realize this information in this data set can start to reveal some things, some common personal things about people that maybe they wouldn't want published. I imagine the fire chief might not want everyone in the world to know where she lives, and yet there it is, right there in the data set. So maybe that should start getting you thinking about privacy, that this data set that sounds maybe on first glance kind of innocuous, it's just license plates and cars, can reveal something about something maybe a little bit private about an individual person, in this case, the fire chief. Okay, next video we'll explore this data set some more.